When you start with God, you're laying down a foundation that no storm can destroy. Too many people try to build their dreams on their talent, their intelligence, or their connections, but none of that lasts forever. People can change, opportunities can fade, and even the strongest plans can fall apart. But when your foundation is God, it doesn't matter how hard the wind blows, you stay standing. You might wobble, but you won't fall. You might cry, but you'll still rise. The truth is, life will test you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The storms don't ask for your permission. They just show up. You'll face rejection, heartbreak, disappointment, and loss. But when you've built your life around God's strength instead of your own, those storms don't have the same power to break you. They just refine you. Starting with God means trusting Him enough to be the base of your plans. You can be talented, you can be gifted, you can be hardworking. But without Him, it's like building a house on sand. The moment the pressure comes, it collapses. The difference between people who fall apart and those who stand tall isn't that one never faces problems. It's that one knows where their strength comes from. When God is your starting point, you get clarity, you get direction. You stop chasing things that look good and start walking toward things that are good. You stop panicking every time life shifts because you know your stability doesn't come from your surroundings. It comes from your Savior. And it's not about being perfect or knowing all the answers. It's about saying, God, I don't know what's next, but I know you do. That kind of trust changes how you move. You walk with confidence, not because you're strong, because you know who walks with you. When you start with God, you stop living in fear of falling because you finally understand you're standing on something that cannot be shaken. Everybody's chasing something: money, fame, approval, security. But very few are chasing God. And that's the problem. Because if you're chasing everything except the one who gives it all meaning, you'll end up empty even when you get what you wanted. God has to come before the goals. He's not against your dreams, He just wants to be part of them. When you start with Him, your vision gets refined. You begin to see that some of the things you were chasing weren't even meant for you. They were distractions. God doesn't just give you dreams, He gives you discernment. He helps you tell the difference between what's good and what's right. That's something success alone can't give you. The world will tell you to grind harder, sleep less, push more. But the Word tells you to seek Him first, and everything else will be added unto you. That means when you put God first, He aligns your goals with His plan. You won't have to chase opportunities. They'll start finding you. And let's be real, there are people who have everything you think you want, but they still feel empty. That's because they started with the goal, not with God. They reached the top, but without peace. They got the success, but lost their soul in the process. When God is first, you don't have to compromise your character to reach your dream. When you start with God, He keeps your motives pure. You stop doing things just for approval and start doing them out of purpose. You begin to realize that it's not about the spotlight, it's about the source. God blesses the hands that build from His direction, not just their ambition. Because when you start your journey with Him, He doesn't just give you what you ask for. He gives you what you were made for. Sometimes when you start with God, it feels like nothing's happening. You pray, you plan, you believe, but it's quiet. That's the season where most people quit. But here's the truth: silence is an absence. God does His best work in private. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean there isn't any. A seed doesn't grow in the light. It grows underground, unseen. And the same goes for you. The quiet seasons are where God builds your roots. He's developing your patience, your faith, your strength. He's preparing you for what you asked for. If He gave it to you too soon, it might crush you instead of bless you. People often mistake delay for denial, but that's not the case. Delay is development. God is equipping you for rooms you haven't even stepped into yet. You may not understand why He's making you wait, but later you'll thank Him for it. Some of the best things God ever did for you were the ones He didn't let happen too early. That quiet season is where your private victories happen. When nobody's watching, nobody's clapping, and nobody's cheering, it's where you learn to depend on Him and not the applause. When you can stay faithful in silence, you'll be ready for the spotlight. You may feel forgotten, but you're being formed. God hasn't stopped working. He's just working beneath the surface. Keep praying, keep believing, keep preparing. The silence is not a setback, it's a setup. Because when the time comes, God's going to reveal what He's been building in you all along, and people will think it happened overnight, but you'll know it was years in the making. Faith doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like walking blind. You won't always feel strong, confident, or ready. But if you only move when you feel like it, you'll miss what God's trying to do. Faith means trusting what you can't see and believing what you can't prove. Your feelings will change every day. One moment you're confident, the next you're doubting. One moment you're ready, the next you're scared. That's why you can't build your decisions on feelings. They're unstable. Faith, on the other hand, stands firm even when your emotions are all over the place. Faith says, God, I don't understand, but I trust you. It means moving forward even when your legs are shaking. It means showing up even when nobody notices. It means believing that something good is coming even when everything around you says otherwise. That's real faith. It's raw, it's real, and it's resilient. There will be moments when your faith feels small, but remember, even mustard seed faith can move mountains. It's not about the size of your belief, it's about the size of your God. Keep planting faith even when you don't see results. Keep speaking life even when you feel surrounded by death. Faith isn't about pretending you don't have fear. It's about deciding that fear doesn't get the final word. Every time you choose faith over feelings, you're saying, God, I trust you more than I trust what I see. And that's when miracles start moving. Because when you start with faith instead of feelings, you step out of your limits and into God's power. One of the biggest lies people believe is that they need to have everything together before they can start with God. That's not how grace works. God never asked for perfection. He asked for surrender. He's not waiting for the polished version of you. He's waiting for the honest version, the broken one, the one who's tired, scared, uncertain, but still willing to try. That's the one He uses. We think we need to fix ourselves before coming to Him, but the truth is, we come to Him so He can fix us. You can't clean a wound without opening it. You can't heal a scar you keep hiding. God already knows every flaw, every failure, every mistake, and He still calls you His own. That's love beyond comprehension. Look at who God used in the Bible: flawed, imperfect people. Moses had a speech problem. David made mistakes. Peter denied Jesus. Yet every single one of them was used for greatness. Why? Because they were willing to start, willing to trust that God could do more with their imperfection than they could do with their perfection. You don't need to be ready. You need to be real. God works best with the raw material of your authenticity. When you're honest about where you are, He can begin shaping where you're going. Stop performing and start surrendering. God doesn't bless who you pretend to be. He blesses who you truly are. Perfection is exhausting, but purpose is freeing. When you realize you don't have to earn God's love, you start walking in confidence instead of condemnation. You stop striving and start trusting. You stop faking strength and start finding it. So stop waiting to get it together. Start with what you have, start where you are, and let God do what only He can do. Turn your mess into your miracle. We live in a world that worships speed. Everything has to be instant. Fast food, fast money, fast success. But God doesn't rush His process. He's not working on your schedule. He's working on your soul. His timing isn't always what you expect, but it's always what you need. You might think He's late, but He's never wrong. Sometimes, God's greatest protection comes disguised as delay. You think He's holding you back, but He's actually holding you together. You wanted that opportunity to come now, but He saw what would have happened if it came too soon. You wanted that door to open, but He saw that the floor behind it wasn't stable yet. God doesn't delay to deny you. He delays to develop you. The wait is where your faith matures. Anybody can praise God when things happen fast. But when you can still praise Him when nothing seems to move, that's faith on fire. That's when you grow from believing in miracles to becoming one. You start understanding that waiting isn't wasted time, it's training time. Every season of waiting is building something in you: patience, humility, discipline, dependence. God doesn't just want to give you blessings, He wants to make sure you're strong enough to carry them. The blessing is heavy. It takes a developed soul to hold it without dropping it. You might be ready for the dream, but the dream might not be ready for you. So when God says, "Not yet," don't let frustration make you quit. Let it make you trust deeper. His delay is direction. His timing is perfect. His silence doesn't mean He's gone. It means He's working in ways you can't see. If you can learn to trust His timing instead of forcing your own, you'll stop worrying about the clock and start walking in peace. Because when it's your time, no force on earth can stop what God has prepared for you. Most people pray, but few people listen. We're great at talking to God, but not so great at waiting for His answer. We say, "God, guide me." Then we keep running without pausing to hear His voice. But when you start with God, you learn to value stillness. Because God speaks in the quiet, not in the chaos. Listening to God requires you to slow down. That's hard in a noisy world where everyone has an opinion, where your phone is buzzing, where your mind is racing. But you can't hear God over the noise if you never stop to be still. You have to create moments where you say, "Lord, I'm not here to talk. I'm here to listen." That's when His whispers become clear. Sometimes His answer isn't what you expected. It might come as peace about something you didn't plan. It might come as conviction about something you thought was fine. It might come as silence when you were hoping for confirmation. But God's silence isn't rejection, it's direction. He's training your ear to trust His presence, not just His voice. Listening also means obedience. It's not just about hearing, it's about doing. When God gives you a nudge, follow it. When He tells you to move, move. When He tells you to wait, wait. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to trust the one who sees everything. The more you listen, the more you'll recognize His tone. You'll stop mistaking anxiety for urgency and fear for intuition. You'll start walking in confidence because you'll know when it's Him speaking, not your emotions. When you start each day saying, "God, what do you want me to do today?" you're not just inviting His voice, you're inviting His leadership. And that's how ordinary days turn into divine direction. Starting with God doesn't mean you'll avoid the valley. It just means you won't walk through it alone. Life will still hurt. People will still disappoint you. Plans will still fall apart. But when God is your guide, even your valley becomes a place of growth. The valley is where your faith proves itself. It's where you find out if what you believe can survive the storm. When you're in the valley, everything feels heavier. You start questioning everything, your purpose, your plan, even your prayers. But remember this, valleys don't mean defeat, they mean development. God teaches you things in low places that mountaintops can't. The pain that feels like it's breaking you might actually be building you. God never promised a life without struggle. He promised His presence through it. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That's not just a verse, that's a survival plan. You walk through the valley, not stay in it. It's a passage, not a prison. The valley strips away what you don't need. It takes away false security. It exposes who's really for you and who's not. It refines your focus. It teaches you that your hope isn't in what's around you. It's in who's beside you. If you're walking through something heavy right now, don't curse it. Embrace it. Let it shape your faith. Let it teach you endurance. Because every valley leads to higher ground when God's leading the way. And when you come out of that valley, you'll carry a strength you never knew you had, a peace that doesn't make sense, and a testimony that will shake somebody else's doubt. Consistency is the bridge between believing and becoming. Everybody can start strong, but not everyone stays steady. You can't just start with God one day and forget Him the next. This has to be a daily choice, a rhythm of trust. Faith isn't built on moments, it's built on momentum. When you make God your first priority every day, you train your spirit to stay anchored. Life will still throw surprises, but consistency keeps you grounded. It's what builds confidence, character, and clarity. The secret to strength isn't doing something once, it's doing it faithfully over time. You might not feel motivated every day, and that's okay. You're not meant to rely on motivation, you're meant to rely on discipline. Keep praying when it feels dry. Keep believing when you're tired. Keep trusting when you can't see results. That's what separates wishful thinkers from faithful warriors. God honors consistency because it shows commitment. He's not looking for perfection, He's looking for persistence. The more consistent you are with Him, the more consistent He'll become in your direction. Even small acts of faith every day, reading a verse, praying 5 minutes, choosing gratitude, build spiritual muscle. You don't see the growth right away, but one day you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Consistency with God is like breathing. You don't always notice it, but it's what keeps you alive inside. Comparison kills confidence. The moment you start measuring your progress by someone else's, you rob yourself of peace. You can't compare your chapter 2 to someone's chapter 20. You don't know what they had to go through to get where they are. You don't know what battles they fought behind the scenes. When you start with God, you realize He's writing a story that's uniquely yours. He doesn't need to copy someone else's plan to bless you. Your timing is different, your lessons are different, and your route is different. And that's a good thing. Every time you look at what someone else has, you take your eyes off what God's already doing in your life. Gratitude and comparison can't live in the same heart. Choose gratitude. Thank God for your process, even when it feels slow. The moment you stop comparing, you start appreciating. You begin to see how far you've come instead of how far you have left to go. You start realizing that maybe you're not behind, you're being refined. Comparison makes you rush. Purpose makes you rest. When you trust that God's timing for your life is perfect, you stop competing and start becoming. You move from insecurity to identity. And when you finally embrace your lane, you'll find that what God has for you fits perfectly because it was never meant for anyone else. Your words are powerful. What you say shapes what you see. If you keep saying, I can't, I'm not ready, it's too hard, you're building walls around your own potential. But when you speak faith, you start shifting your reality. Words carry energy, and faith-filled words carry power. Every morning, you have two choices: speak what you see or speak what you believe. When you speak faith, you're declaring that your current situation isn't your final destination. You're telling your problems that your God is bigger. That kind of speech attracts miracles. You don't need to have everything figured out to start talking victory. Even if your circumstances haven't changed yet, your confession can. Speak life over your finances. Speak healing over your body. Speak peace over your mind. Speak favor over your future. What you declare in faith, God begins to align in reality. Fear will whisper that it's not working. Doubt will shout that it's impossible. But keep speaking faith anyway, because the moment you agree with fear, you empower it. And the moment you agree with faith, you disarm it. Faith doesn't deny the mountain. It declares that it's moving. The words you speak set the tone for the life you live. You can either talk yourself out of blessings or into them. Start every day saying, God, I trust you. I may not see it yet, but I believe it's on the way. Because when your words align with your faith, your life begins to align with God's plan. When you start with God, you have to end with gratitude. Praise isn't just for the good days, it's for every day. It's for when you're winning and when you're waiting. Gratitude keeps your heart in check. It reminds you that every breath, every blessing, every breakthrough came from Him. Praising God in hard times doesn't mean you're ignoring your pain. It means you're choosing your perspective. You're saying, Even if I don't understand, I still trust you. That kind of praise confuses the enemy. It says, you can't steal my joy because my joy doesn't come from circumstances. It comes from Christ. When you thank God for what you have, He multiplies it. When you complain, you drain it. Gratitude opens doors that grumbling closes. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. Praise also resets your spirit. It brings peace to chaos, hope to despair, and clarity to confusion. It keeps you grounded when life gets loud. When you lift God higher, everything else gets smaller. So whether your prayers were answered today or not, give Him thanks. Whether you're on the mountain or in the valley, give Him praise. Gratitude isn't a reaction, it's a lifestyle. Because when you start with God and finish with praise, you're telling the world, my faith isn't based on what happens, it's based on who holds it all together.